Podcast, TruthSeekah's podcast. Buckle up, everyone. We're going to talk aliens, UFOs, ghosts, spiritual and paranormal. From all of the three moons, beyond your wildest dreams. Dead to nice.
TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark Savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. I'm excited and delighted to be with you guys here for another amazing episode. We're going to talk all things spiritual. We're going to talk about spirituality, the spirit realm, paranormal. Try to not leave any stone unturned. We're going to cover it all. Trust me. Make sure you stick around. It's going to be a good episode. I got awesome guests lined up for you guys. Before we go any further, I got to stop and say a huge thank you to everyone who makes this show possible. This show is not possible, doesn't exist without your help. This is a listener supported and funded show. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of the Patreon supporters, all of the Patreon partners, everybody who is supporting financially. And I'd like to give a shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. We had a boom this week. It was like a lot of people signed up, posted out that we were doing the School of the Mystics on a couple different platforms. I don't really overly promote it. I really just talk about it on the podcast, and the day of I'll share it out. But I shared it out on several different platforms, and we had a lot of people sign up. So shout out to all the new people who are on supporting, and give a shout out to some of these people here. Shout out to Sylvania. Thank you, my friend, for coming on. It was good to have you on the School of the Mystics. Shout out to Gentry, Kiffin Griffith, Mike Johnson, and Vex. Thank you guys for coming on and believing in the work. And it was good to meet you guys for the first time on the School of the Mystics Thursday night. Like I said, we had a handful of new people, like 5 or 6 new people join us for the first time, which was really cool. And it's something that I don't really promote, and I don't want to, I knew it was going to happen, but sometimes we have people join us. And shout out to Brian Head Welch from Korn, who was on there with us this past Thursday. I didn't want to promote it that he was going to be on because people would join just to come on and say hello, but it was a cool surprise. From time to time, I like to get some of my friends to join me. So Brian Head Welch joined us on this last one. Jordan Maxwell pops in from time to time, but I don't promote it and say that they're going to be there. So whoever joins, sometimes you just get a special treat. So this past Thursday was a really cool School of the Mystics, and we got really deep. It was really good. And yeah, make sure you join us Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Central, School of the Mystics. You get access to that by becoming a patron at any level. So for $1 a month, you get access to that. Thank you guys for supporting. Also, my new book is still here. still going strong, still doing good. Make sure you check it out if you haven't had a chance to get a copy yet. Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God, forward by the great Jordan Maxwell himself. If you have not had a chance to check it out, make sure you get it. You can go to TruthSeekah.com or just simply go to Amazon. It's going to be the best place to get it. Walmart.com, Target, Barnes & Nobles, all those places, wherever you get books. Check it out. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's episode conversation with my guest here, drew-bankey. Drew, welcome to the TruthSeekah Podcast, my friend. How are you?
Good, brother. How are you, Derek?
Doing well, man. Doing really good. Blessed and highly favored, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good day to be alive.
Hey, the sun's up, and I woke up today and able to shower and have a little bite to eat. So it's a great day.
Yes, what's up, man? So just want to get into this conversation, bro. I got a lot to talk to you about. We have a lot in common. You've been listening to the podcast, and so you reached out to me once you were starting to kind of get out there and promote what you're doing, which is some really cool work, doing God's work. And so you wanted to come on, and I checked some of your other interviews out. And I was like, sure thing, man. We definitely have a lot in common, a lot to talk about. But for those who don't know who you are, just kind of give a brief intro about who you are and what you bring to the table, man.
Well, for one, I'm just a human being on this walk, first and foremost, and doing my best. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm an Iraqi war veteran. 2 tours in Iraq. In 2005, I was in Baghdad. 2007, I was in Ramadi, and got out in 2009. Did just over 10 years total service in the military. I was also a police officer for 3 of those years when I was in the reserves for the first 3 years of my Army commitment. And but went active duty, did a bunch of tours in Iraq, and basically come back with a bunch of PTSD and things coming up through traumas. And it led me to plant medicine. Ayahuasca was the first plant medicine that I really did in ceremony for healing, the purposes of intentional healing, and didn't really know what I was signing up for, and did the ceremony just basically trying to feel better, and stumbled across the spirit world, and my path was shown, and basically my path was what I'm doing right now. I'm spreading the vibration of a pure light energy, and I was shown that about 4 or 5 years ago, when my first couple ceremonies. So now I work with the medicine. I'm a ayahuasquero, Huachumero. I carry those altars from tribes down in Brazil through Medicine Men, and that has found me through my work. I'm also a sun dancer, a Native American sun dancer. It's a ceremony where I fast for 4 days with food and water and dance, and there's a piercing. It's a very sacred ceremony. But so being that I'm a sun dancer, I'm also a sacred pipe carrier for Native tribes, Ojibwe tribes. I was named also from sun dancing, from my commitment to sun dancing. It's a ceremony that very few people do. It's more for medicine people and whatnot to do. But so my name through Sundance is Blue Thunder Man. So I'm of the Thunderbird clan. So I carry like a healing energy from source in that sense. And through my tribes that I'm connected with through my plant medicine work down in South America, my name is Cosmic Eagle. Both those names were given to me. And I'm just trying to spread a good vibration now. I've had a lot of experiences with source. I've had experiences in several different native ceremonies with plant medicine and without, seen a lot of different realms and dimensions, and opened up a vast understanding. And now I'm just trying to spread that vibration. I think it's a very important time to spread this. So.
Oh, for sure, man. Like, looking back, what was it that first led you to the ayahuasca experience? Was it just, you said, by accident? Did you didn't know what you were getting into? What was your intrigue with it?
Well, it happened. I was going through a lot of PTSD, suicide attempts, depression, anxiety, in and out of hospitalizations and treatments, all kinds of different treatments through the VA, and none of them were really working. And finally, in a dream, I had the call for peyote come through, and that spirit come through in the dream, and that the search for a peyote ceremony basically led me to ayahuasca, and through internet searches and whatnot. And I had never even heard about the ayahuasca, or never even heard the word ayahuasca for that matter. And it's just hold on just one sec. Babe, hold on, my dog is going crazy. Will you get Buddy? Yeah, sorry, excuse me guys, I'm still living a life here. But so the ayahuasca eventually kind of found me through my search for peyote, and found the ceremony. Eventually, when I first was doing research on it, did months of research on it, found out it was a medicine down from Peru, and couldn't really afford to go down there and do that at the time, so kind of gave up on it. And my wife was finding in the background, she found a church in Orlando, Soul Quest, which they do some really great work down there. It's they're still operating right now, and but this was right at the beginning of when they first opened up, and they was treating a lot of veterans at the time. So went there and just had for a healing. Basically, I just wanted to feel better. All the research was talking about how it was helped out veterans with PTSD, and went in there, and immediately it was it opened up a world I didn't even know existed. And just really flipped my whole understanding.
So it by going on this soul quest, it allowed you to find spiritual healing from your PTSD from going within that way?
For sure. It allowed me to see the traumas, and it allowed me to separate my personal feelings and emotions, so I could see the traumas for what they were, the lessons in them. So, my understanding has evolved over the years, but now I understand that we're here to have experiences, and these experiences that we have, they all can be interpreted one way or the other. And we basically have the ability to interpret every situation, just take it for what it is. And the ceremonies will show you that. They basically take your ego, what some will refer to the ego, out of it, and allow you just to see from a higher self each situation and what you learn from it. So a lot of us, they say hindsight's 20/20. So, but the medicine allows you to see the reasoning right then and there, and then you can start bringing it out into your life, and eventually, every situation you can see that, okay, this is why this is happening, and it's not that the universe is against me. This is just an experience for me to grow. Because I learned, there's so much stuff I could go over what the medicine has taught me, but one is, it almost verbally told me this message. It said, growth comes right when you're on the edge of comfortableness. So right when you start to become uncomfortable, that's where growth happens. If we concentrate on being uncomfortable all the time, there'll be no growth. We become stagnant. So that's just one of the first lessons really I got out of the medicine.
That's awesome, man. So you've had to do the work, I'm sure so whenever you go in, you're able to kind of see it from another perspective, a loving perspective, right? Through the eyes of God, sure, if you will, through the higher self, and kind of get a second opinion about all of the stuff that you thought was real, and the trauma and the things that kind of your identity and who you are and your worth and all that kind of stuff, and you got to see it from a higher perspective versus our finite perspective. You got to see it from an infinite lens, which is the lens of God through love. And it's life-changing, that one in and of itself. And then you've shown things to walk it out, like this perfected version of yourself, if you will, and how to kind of like transition into that, or pull the goodness from that higher self into where you are now. And it's through processing emotions, releasing trauma, expectations, and all of that stuff, working through it all. And that's a journey in and of itself. So when I had my really deep psilocybin encounter, like it felt like ayahuasca. Like it was like traveling the universe and seeing God face to face and all of that. And it took me months to really unpack all of that stuff. Now for you, and I know you have to unpack it, you walk it out. Some people get like, I want to say addicted, or it's a form of escapism because it's fun, it's out there, people do it at festivals and stuff like that. It's a party drug for a lot of people, they want to try it all. For you, what was the unpacking process like? And how soon after did you try ayahuasca? Did you move on to peyote or to any, Wachuma or Kambo or any of the other sacred plant medicines? Was there like a long time in between, or was it like just ready to go in? What was your experience like?
Well, so right at the beginning, when I was shown my path, I was shown a lot of what was going to happen and when it was going to, almost seeing into the future in a way. And I was shown that I only had a few years to basically remember what I've already known from past lives or past reincarnations or other dimensional spaces. However, whatever depth you want to think on it, and I could delve into that more. That's a whole book in itself. I can delve into that in a minute, but yeah, I was just I was shown I had a very big mission coming up, and I was shown the times were going to come very soon that I was going to have to be speaking. So I had to do my own internal work and spend a lot of time walking in this. So really, I started to go into flow very quickly, and all these other medicines started finding me. The peyote found me. Through the medicine work, it would be I'd be sitting with different medicine people, and they'd see me in ceremony, and I was going through my own personal healing very much so at that time. I believe we all continue to go throughout a whole life. I'm still in my healing process, and I don't think I'll ever get through it until I turn into light. But yeah, people would see me in ceremony, and then they would talk to me afterwards and explain, there's something. They wouldn't tell me all what they saw, but they said that there was something coming up, and I had this special thing that I was supposed to be doing. So I had a lot of offers of people taking me on as their student, and turned down a lot of them. And finally, I took on the first one with ayahuasca. And that was the first. Well, Kambo was the first altar that we took on. Rapé, which is one of the precursors for every ceremony. So that'd be the first one really that we took on, was the rapé.
How do you use that in ceremony? What do you use it for? Is it more of like a grounding and a cleanse to kind of start with?
Well, it's for me, looking at the ceremony, it's very much on an energetic level. So everything that I see is on an energetic way, and I see not necessarily see as sight, but I sense everything as energetic wise. So the mapacho, the sacred tobacco that's in rapé, is a spirit, and it's a masculine spirit, and he is the doorway for pretty much all ceremonies, South American and North American ceremonies. The peyote ceremonies, they start off by smoking their own form of tobacco. Down in Peru and South America, the Condor ceremonies down there, they use the rapé, which is tobacco blend, which is more of a doorway. It's definitely, in the physical form, it is grounding. It definitely brings you into your space. So lots of times, people getting ready for ceremony, there'd be a lot of conversations around. Now, after the rapé, like that, everybody's within themselves, and that's basically intuitively their energy knows that, okay, a ceremony started. So they start going more within and start definitely getting more grounded. But on a spiritual level, it's kind of an agreement that the tobacco spirit is gonna open the doorway for the other master spirits. So the master spirit being ayahuasca or wachuma and peyote, they both hold the masculine. Beautiful, yeah. Is that ayahuasca on there?
No.
No, yeah. In the middle, what's that piece of wood?
Oh, I'm not sure. I got it from Peru. I'm not sure what the wood is.
That's ayahuasca.
Is it really?
That's ayahuasca. Yeah, that's ayahuasca.
Wow. Didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did get it from Peru, though.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it's got some rapé. So do you do it to cleanse and to ground without ceremony, like as far as like, because I found it very powerful for me of just like when I need to ground, when I need to release emotions or people or just stress, to go outside, put my feet on the ground. And I feel like, because you can do this in passing and nothing happens. But if you do it and then you really just close your eyes and go into that feeling, like it can really help you to purge and get rid of some emotions and things like that you're dealing with.
Yeah, we use it, especially me and my wife. My wife shares the altar with me. She sits behind the altar, and I believe that balance between the masculine and feminine behind the altar is very important, especially what we're going through right now on the global level. But we use rapé. When we song practice, we're constantly working on our songs and trying to fine tune, our voices and everything about the ceremony. So when we go into ceremony, we put a lot of extra time in that people never see. Going through our own hardships and struggles of learning different instruments or whatnot. But the rapé definitely helps. Like I also think it's, for me, I've sat in ceremony a lot. So it's, it kind of takes me into that mindset that, okay, this is a sacred time, and I get help from the vibration of the universe in that song practice. So I think it's all just a relationship. It depends on what your relationship is with the rapé. Just if you said it, you could be on the street corner and do it, and just go and walk across the street afterwards. But if you're sitting down and you maybe burn a little sage or something like that and sit down with it, well, you started your own ceremony.
Yeah.
And it's basically, the ceremony is just a language that is developed with the universe, and that's really what a ceremony is. And these medicines, the plant medicines, are really on a very basic level, is just a vibrationary tool to raise your vibration so you can speak to your higher self. You're not really speaking to the plants. The plants carry a certain knowledge and blessing behind them because they've been blessed over for so many thousands of years. But ultimately, who you're communing with your higher self, and you're communing with one, the source. And really, ultimately, we're all just particles of that source. So, and you get to see that the first couple times you see it in, psilocybin or wachuma or any of these ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies or breath work, any of these ways to raise your vibration, we have the capacity to do it ourselves, just through breath work. Wim Hof proved that. And, Ram Dass, there's tons of people that proved it doesn't take anything, but you have the tools to do it. But ultimately, it's just raising your vibration to a point where it shuts off your mind. It shuts off your third dimensional human animal mind. And you can listen to your higher self, which is tapped into the mainframe, the ultimate knowledge of everything. So, and that goes by a bunch of different names, but yeah.
Yeah, I really like how, Terrence McKenna put it, talking about how feeling like there were these walkie-talkies to be able to communicate with God or with beings that are in the higher realms. Like, this is the way to communicate with them, is through these plants or through these different fungi. Because Because it definitely felt like that for me. So for you, like we're talking about communion with God, source, and the higher self and that kind of thing. Where do the other beings come in as far as like coming in to assist and things like that? Or maybe you get to see the spirit that is behind each of what we would call plants or fungi. Again, like it's kind of like a doorway or a portal into the other realm to commune with that spirit that's behind it. That's old, it's ancient, it's been here for a long time, and it wants to teach you things, right? And I really do think that they were programmed or designed by the Creator to impart things to us, help us to cope. And there's different things different plants that do different things and stuff like that. But there's an intelligence behind it, and we call that spirit or beings or aliens. I mean, you could call it whatever you want, right? Gnomes and elves and elementals, all of that kind of stuff. That is like
all of it, yeah.
Fairies.
Yeah, I've seen personally. I've seen fairies. I've seen Bigfoot. I've had ground contact with ET. Not on any medicine, just standing outside. I'm being researched by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. I'm being it for my contact, and my contact is consciousness. Like that's where I really learned about multidimensionality with that, and really all these the aliens, the angels, all the ET races that you could ever think of, pretty much anything that's ever been talked about. If it's been talked about, there's some type of manifestation somewhere in some type of dimensional space, because ultimately it's coming from how it's being manifested is from our thoughts. So the minute that you say if you and one other person can come up with a new word that's never been said to describe a new being, you're starting to manifest that somewhere in some dimensional space.
Yep.
So, when I start talking about these things, it's kind of tricky for people to wrap their head around. But for me, what's going on globally right now is I see it no different than when I see someone throwing up in ceremony. It's for me, when I see someone throwing up in ceremony, they're getting rid of something that doesn't serve them anymore, and that next morning or a few hours later, they have a whole new outlook on life. So on a global level, that's how I see it, and I'm just lucky enough to been able to hear different things that really stuck with me. Ram Dass said I never started listening to Ram Dass until after he died, and he come to see me in a dream right after he died. And then I started listening to a bunch of Ram Dass stuff. But the one thing that I was supposed to hear from that is the moment you become the observer and switch from the participant and become the observer, that's when you really start understanding how things work. And so all these different dimensional spaces and realms and beings are all there. And they're all different facets of our thoughts. And the more we fear things, that's when things keep scaring us more and more and more until we get over our fear lesson. So right now we're accelerating because we're going through an evolutionary shift. We're approaching a massive evolutionary shift on a galactic level. This is what's happening right now. This is the unrest that we're seeing on a collective level in the world. And I see what's happening on that level is this is actually going to in turn bring us together more. If we have a common enemy that is threatening humanity, we put our differences aside. History has shown this is how it's went down. And so I believe that's the reasoning of the duality part of what's going on here is that. But I'm sorry, I got a little off track, but I do want to say about the ayahuasca. The ayahuasca is the manifested form of the divine feminine consciousness in physical form, so we can ingest it. The peyote and San Pedro Wachuma cactuses, they are the physical representation of the divine masculine, and this is the consciousness of the divine feminine and masculine consciousness of the entire universe. So you have source, which is, I work directly with source energy, especially in my ceremonies, with healing work. I do hypnosis and all types of other things without plant medicine. But and it's very hard container to hold and understand. You have to really do a lot of purifying of yourself to get to that container. So to step down a little bit from that, the ayahuasca and the peyote wachuma is separated, is that and separated into two parts. So working with those two medicines is very high level of dedication to that. And once you start working in this, there's really no hierarchy up and down. So I'm not talking about like if someone's more advanced than the other. It's just a different job that they're doing. But as you go down, there's different subsets from it. The rapé combo and everything, subsets off those, it goes down, and that's why you can do rapé in in a lot more relaxed settings than what you would be able to do the ayahuasca or peyote wachuma in, because it's a lower subset. It's still sacred, and but you can do it by yourself, So I don't know if that got to where the question that you was answering.
Yeah. No, I want to kind of go back to just what you brought to the table, because I mean, exploring this is really interesting. Is the fact that the universe kind of fills in the blanks, and whatever you have the faith or the room to believe for, it shows itself to you. I've seen that with my music. I try to communicate that through my music, and as far out as you want to go, it's real, whether it was somebody else has experienced it or you created it. That's just this crazy idea of God and consciousness and reality, and how this place works that we're in, understanding the constructs and how things are created. I feel like there's a difference there when it's just kind of real in your head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To where till it literally shows itself to you. It works similarly. I think the lines are blurred together with the laws of manifestation, of the law of attraction and those kind of things, whether it's money and wealth or a career and lovers and things like that, to entities, beings that are created through thought forms or whatever. And there's one thing of just entertaining this stuff in your head, but then there's another of manifesting it and it actually appearing to you and coming to say hello, or showing up in the 3D space where it's here. Because there's there's this instance of like, we can close our eyes and talk to fairies, or close our eyes and see aliens or whatever. That's cool. I'm with it. And I think it starts there. It starts in the dream state. It starts in the imagination. But it's something else when they come to you in the waking state. Like these fairies manifest in the physical form and come and fly down from the heavens or out of the trees, or, aliens, ET light ships come down and communicate with you. Yeah. And they come out of the clouds and they come down to say hello to like, that's different. Like there's something there, because there's something that we can actually measure. Sometimes there's repeatability. That's where Terrence McKenna, I think, had it wrong. Especially when it comes to the UFO and, phenomena, because now we have repeatability there. But it changes the game, because you're having encounters and interactions with these beings on a physical plane, not just in astral travel, but they're showing up, and then you could try to recreate it. I know I see on your website as well the CE5 initiative, which I'm real big into as well, and I'm sure you're into it because you've had success with it, taking people out and it's like kind of the old adage, I can show you better than I can tell you. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but letting you have your own encounter will change it all for you. Oh,
for sure. And like, for me, the encounters that I've had, it started off, I would see in a ship. And when we first moved to Crestone, Colorado, like the third night we were there, me and my wife seen the ship, and it was undeniable that it was a craft from not anything that we know about. And then we see another ship, and then there'd be a ship come in and shine down on our house one night, and it kind of like spotlighted our house. And then I had a dream. I went outside and saw the ship, and in my dream, I couldn't bring, well, in reality, in physical reality, I couldn't bring myself to walk outside. Like, this thing was over my house, like being in my house, like a big spotlight. And I couldn't bring myself to walk outside. I was just too overcome. Like, but after it was gone, and I calmed about a half hour, 45 minutes later, I calmed down and finally went and laid down. But before I went and laid down, I walked outside and I said, look, I'm not ready to interact like that. I was like, if you want to talk to me, I got the message, like the intuitive message that they wanted to speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, come to me in my dream. I said, I'm comfortable in that way. And that night in my dream, I went through the same experience I had physically, but instead of fear when that happened, I was basically in my living room that is spotlighted again, but in the dream, and I walked outside, and then, I had the experience I was supposed to have. And really, for me, the C5 initiative and the idea behind it is, I know how it felt to me internally and what it did to me having these experiences. So if I can, like exactly what you said, if I can help facilitate that in someone else's physical reality so they can have experience like that, and that paradigm shift that vibration, the vibration just simply from seeing a ship and also being face to face with one, is the vibration is really intense. It's very similar to DMT or something like that. That's the best way I could describe it. Just a very loud ringing in the ears and your body just shaking. And this is one-on-one contact, face to face with the ET. And this happened in Chaco Canyon in February 2019, and this is one that interests MUFON a lot when I share this. But the real brain buster for me was about 3 weeks later when I had the same experience with the ET, but from the ET's perspective. And that allowed me to understand multidimensionality. I understood that I was the ET and the physical. My future self had come back to help upgrade my physical self for my mission. And it all sounds really crazy, but that's I've had a few experiences like that. So I know of about 5 or 6 different dimensional spaces that I've actually bilocated at the same time and been able to be here and be there at the same time. So, and I know there's an infinite amount of other ones. So, all these things that we see and experienced, they're all facets of ourself, really. And the religion, spiritual practices, we run across this a lot because in ceremony with ayahuasca or wachuma that we work with, people be in ceremony and you have one person there have visions of Buddha and Buddhist deities, and the storyline will be played out with those Buddhist deities. The person right beside them, they may have not grown up religious. They may have went to Sunday school as a child, and they may be in their 30s right now and haven't been to Sunday school since they were 6 or 7. Their ceremony, their storyline will play out with Jesus and the apostles and the whole storyline from the Bible. So the religion, spiritual practices, and everything are simply are breaking down source energies message in a way that we could understand it. And so now when I operate in ceremony, I commune with straight light beings. Like there's no other than source. When it has to come, my messages have to come. They come from light beings. So there's no, like normally with ayahuasca, it's anacondas and condors and jaguars and this, that, the other. That's the form, the animal forms of messages in that spiritual practice. And that was part of my path during this work. But now there's usually just, I talk to a spark of light or something like that when I visualize who my guides and everything speaking to me.
That's interesting. How does that work? Because there's like, we've talked about this a couple of times, like a lot of times in deep meditation, as long as you wait long enough, a spark, you know, some people say it's your third eye, but you'll be able to see this white light. It starts off as white, but then it starts moving around and it starts fluttering and changing colors and that kind of thing. And like, it's communicating with you with your eyes closed. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
For sure. And anyone that's done any, psilocybin, ayahuasca, or any of these ceremonies have seen the movement and basically, when you get deep enough in ceremony, you can see the music playing, you can see wavelengths coming to you, and that's seeing the energy and vibration and seeing the vibrational tones of the song in a visual sense. And that's just one example of it. But and that's what's happening in meditation. But the ayahuasca and all these different plants and everything, they speed up the process a lot and give you a boost so you can raise your vibration quicker. When you're meditating, you're just doing it on a more organic level, and a little bit it happens most of the time a little bit slower until you can get into practice of it. So as I said before, all this is just vibrationary tools to raise your vibration, and the vibration itself is simply source's vibration that's coming through. That allows you to manifest your reality. So, God frequency 528. When you speak about that, that's the frequency that I use a lot when I sleep at night. It allows me to ground, and from all the work that we do and people with traumas that we encounter, that when I sleep at night, that allows me to clear out. I know it's working on my physical. The vibration's working on my physical level. So the vibration, have you ever heard of Dr. Emoto, Derek?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Dr. Emoto, if for the listeners that haven't heard of him, they can research him more about or touch on a little bit of his research. He saw that positive and negative vibrations in music could affect water crystals on, he would play, say Beethoven, by a glass of water, and then he would take that water and look at it under a microscope, and the cellular structure of the cells were crystalline and pure geometric shapes. And then he had the duality of it. He had another cup of water, and I think he played recordings of like Hitler's hate speeches or something like that by it. And he looked at the cellular crystals of the water under a microscope of that water, and the waters were all jagged and malformed and really gnarly looking. So the epiphany hit him that the water was reacting to positive and negative vibration. It was changing it. So what I like to preach on is we're 80% water. So just think of ourselves as a glass of water as well. We can use positive vibrations, positive binaural beats, or positive music, classical music, ceremonial music. Like if you've been in ceremony and you enjoy that type of music, whatever, high vibrational music, to basically hack our own matrix and keep ourselves healthy and keep ourselves in line with source of the creator, or whatever label that you want to put on that energy. But yeah, this whole walk has opened up a lot of things for me. I was channeling I was channeling before, and I first started channeling Osiris, and that just come out of nowhere. And then I did verified the channel that I did, like a 2.5 hour channel the first time with Osiris, and I verified the information I was speaking about through my own research, and it was verified through my research that what I was speaking on was actually did happen to Osiris. So that gained some validity to what I was speaking on. And man, I only channeled like 4 or 5 times like that. I channeled Archangel Michael and Osiris and Dolores Cannon one time, and Palladian Collective. But I was in channel, I think, one time with the Palladian Collective, and when I would channel, I would be like coherently. I was, my physical self was still coherent, but I was channeling, just stepping out of the way and kind of stepping in the background listening. But one time in the channel, I said basically to myself, I was like, man, this sounds really familiar. It sounds like each one of these people I'm channeling, even though it's not the voice, my voice even changed. I was using like a different accent and whatnot, but I was like, man, it all sounds the same. And that's really when I started channeling Source. And the very first channel come through from Source, it said, I'm the source of all creation. You are the creator through the power of manifestation. Step back into your power to facilitate the upcoming evolutionary shift. So that, you know, I knew that the path and what we were going to be experiencing in our lifetime was the melting of all spiritual practices and religions and going back to a telepathic communication with Source, and that we all are able to have. And that's the basis of my walk and my message. So, and
man, you touched on so many points there.
Yeah.
Talking about, and I'm reading in the chat too, people are talking about how, like, when it comes to the water, you know, and the food and that kind of thing, they were talking about how they like to speak to their food or speak to their water. It was so interesting. I read in the scriptures today, I read, it's been really interesting because a lot of times when I read for the day, the guest will come on and kind of mention something or have something to do with it. But I read 1 Timothy chapter 4 today, and there's a scripture that says, "For every creature of God is good, and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving." And then it says, "For it is sanctified by the word of God and of prayer." And it's talking about like saying the blessing over your food. And actually speaking a word of blessing, like receiving it with thanksgiving. There's an attitude of gratitude, of honor, of respect there. Definitely in, like, you know what I'm saying, Native American culture, being thankful for whether it's that animal that gave its life so that you can live or whatever, or blessing your water. Because as you're speaking to it, we're talking about the science now with Dr. Emoto, and in some of this stuff that's throughout all of the ancient text. I mean, with the power of your words, and then having to deal with food or having to deal with water as well. I mean, the scripture even talks about, like, life and death is in the power of the tongue. You know, you can speak life or you can create death. And there's so many of these scriptures about the power of sound, vibration. I like to, you know, I'm a Bible guy, but I like to even go back to, like, Pythagoras, you know what I'm saying? And all, and just their sect, with sound and the beautiful tones and chords and things like that have this pleasing frequency to it. And if you see what type of shape it makes, again with the water, when you're freezing the water, and it's these beautiful sacred patterns, sacred geometry, straight lines, you know, what appears to be straight lines anyway. But if you play like a cymbal or a crash or a loud bang, it's got this weird crashing crazy noise. And then, like, you know, looking back at Pythagoras, they wouldn't allow their sect of their followers to listen to any cymbals or bangs or clashes like that, because they thought that it messed with their auric field and their vibration, and they wouldn't even allow that to be in their auric field. You know what I'm saying? And then I also tie all that stuff together looking at, like, King David in the Bible. When Saul was vexed with evil spirits, King David would play the harp, this soothing, peaceful music, and the evil spirits, the madness would leave him while David was playing. As long as he heard that music and that vibrational tones and frequency, it put him in this meditative, beautiful state. And it's so true. We can feel it, but the science behind it and the religious text, I mean, all of it adds up, and it, like, proves what you believe. And it's so true, man. Like, our bodies, again, are 80% water. Dr. Emoto and so many more people are waking up to this. This is becoming mainstream now. A lot of religious leaders are talking about this, you know, but it seems like it takes one thing like that to open it up for people to finally, you know, understand that, hey, my words have power, you know. For sure. Intention with the words and intention with the music, is all of that layered together, you know.
For sure. Two things. I just recently started playing the didgeridoo a couple weeks ago, and I meditate with that in the morning, you know, play it, and been working on it, and it's turned in from practice to a meditation now, and it really sets my mood for the day. And I actually use the didgeridoo to bless my food now. Like before I eat my food, or if my wife's cooking food or whatever, I'll go with the didgeridoo and send just a 528 frequency through the didgeridoo just to hit my food with that. But man, I forgot what else I was going to say. Yeah, there's just so much, man. Like,
but yeah,
really,
I think even with the didgeridoo, so it seems like you're kind of limited with the type of tones that you can make it sound, or the pitches and stuff like that. I know it's open, but it almost seems like it's a perfect example of having an intention and blowing the intention through it. Mm-hmm. Like the vibe, the understanding, I want to get this across. Here's the sound waves that's going to allow me to push this feeling, whether it's peace, whether it's war, whether it's confusion, whatever it is. Here's the vibrational tone for me to push this idea out. And that's how that's how words are formulated anyway. Like when we have this idea, we try to formulate what to say. The scriptures, even with that, it talks about like when the Spirit prays through you, it's with groanings and utterances that you can't even make out. It's just noise that comes out. I mean, going out into the woods and screaming and wailing and weeping and anguish, and you're releasing that stuff out of you. The power of sound and words and music, all of it together.
The sound and vibration is, I see it as a segue back into going telepathic, because the words are actually the way we're communicating right this very moment. Words is actually a very low vibrational way of communicating. Speaking through vibrations and tones is actually a higher vibrational way of giving messages, because you're getting more. You're getting not only the information through, but you're actually getting the emotion through as well. And I see the vibrational tone and vibrational healing modalities that we're moving into more and more as a society. As a collective, I think I see it as a segue of going back to full telepathy. And I do want to offer one thing to show I want the listeners that, especially those ones that have experience with pendulums or whatever, they know that the energy coming off your meridian points on each hand, one's positive, one negative. That's how Reiki works. So they can hold their and Reiki, by the way, is another word for Christ consciousness. But they can hold their pendulum, and they can hold it, say, over water, and they can hold it over tobacco or whatnot, and it'll have the same rotation, the clockwise rotation of their left hand, and that's source vibration coming off of it, because it's actually still alive, and they can. I want to. I could illustrate this. I'm gonna put a video. I've been asked to put a video up of this. I'm gonna illustrate it. It'll be on my YouTube in a couple days. I promise. But they can take a piece, say a lighter, or they can take anything that is just an inanimate object they don't really have. They're just using as a tool, and it's not really sacred to them or anything. They can hold their pendulum over that, and there'll be no spin coming off of it. And as soon as they start, say it's a lighter, you can start talking to that lighter and being like, I appreciate you because you allow me to light my tobacco in a sacred way. So I appreciate you. And they can watch the vibrations start to turn their pendulum over top of that object. In the same sense, they can, at the same moment, they can start talking to that and cursing at it, or calling it just a piece of plastic. It's a useless piece of plastic, and the pendulum will stop. So I invite your guests to do that, the listeners to do that. Even if you don't know about pendulums, get a pendulum and start playing with it. It'll do paradigm shifts for you. It'll do the same thing that I do with CE5s. It's all about a paradigm shift of cracking the egg and letting people know that God's inside you. And once they start experiencing that on their own, that's the paradigm shift we all need to have right now. And the CE5, touching on the CE5 real quick, I really see a mass contact event coming very soon. And it's our future selves coming back and basically providing us a paradigm shift so we can get through what we're getting through with on a global scale with all this virus and whatnot. I don't want to touch on that too much and give it too much attention because I don't want to give it energy. But I also recognize that it's important to recognize the light and the dark in this world, the duality that we're living in this 3D realm. This is the duality, the battle between light and dark, masculine and feminine, and all the other things. That's really the only experience we have in this 3D physical form, and it's our only lesson. Once we break that lesson, now we can ascend. We're going into 5D reality.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, people got to understand, just because it's negative doesn't mean it's bad, right? Just because something that's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. You know, every light and dark exists for a reason. The different polarities and the contrast in between. And for anything else, just on an elementary level, is to let you understand that there is a contrast. You appreciate the light more because you've experienced the darkness, right? You've experienced it. People need to understand that, and versus like it's something outside of them or something that's happening to them, or they feel like a victim because all of these, what they would consider bad. I think their bad just means uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, sure. So we call it bad or evil or wicked or something.
It's all our perception. I segue into my experience with Source real quick. I had experience with Source. It was after ceremony with San Pedro. And I saw a big ball of light, walked inside of it, and thought that my journey was over. When I got in there, I really was going to give up my physical form to go into Source because I was going to fix everything in my mind, as my human mind that was really my ego mind that was saying this. But when I went into Source, and it's like I was there, and there was nobody else there. So I realized that this is kind of like a wait, just a quick waiting room. But I was like, okay, now that I'm here, I'm going to fix everything. And I started looking at, I was tapped into all of existence, not just on this world, but other worlds, other galaxies and solar systems everywhere. And I saw that everything was just perfect. Like everything was happening exactly how it was supposed to. Nothing was out of line. And a voice said that everything is always perfection. Anything that you're experiencing is only your own perception. And everything is always in divine order. And that was that's the message I brought back from Source. So then I asked, so what should I do? And they're like, well, you can you go reincarnate, or you can go back to the body that you're in right now. And I was like, well, they're like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to be this, that, the other. I went through a couple of different ideas of things I wanted to reincarnate into, and I was shown dimensional spaces where I was those things already. And I was like, well, what's left to do? And they're like, well, you could walk with this understanding, and you could walk on two legs. You could walk with the understanding of Source on two legs. You could be one of those people. And I'm like, is that even possible? Like, to hold that in container? And they're like, well, if you said it here, so I basically rewrote. You've heard about soul contract. I basically wrote a new soul contract for these next 40 years of my life. About to turn 40 next month, by the way. But so I kind of rewrote my soul contract for this last part, and I was going to be able to carry the understanding that I had in Source and carry that out and walk on two legs. So I was going to be able to basically walk with separateness and the understanding of oneness, both of them on a very cellular level. And I was able to bridge the gap between those two for humanity. So that's what I'm doing now, and working on my book. I got a co-author, been working on my book and channeling some stuff through there. And the name of it was channeled as well. It's called I'm Perfect and So Are You. So I think a lot of the big misconception that we've been fed in our lifetime, that nothing's perfect and you're not allowed to say you're perfect, when in all actuality is that it's the polar opposite. Everything is always perfection. We've been trained to think that everything is never perfect. In all actuality, everything is always perfect. That's the actual truth of what's going on. So these gurus, these breatharians that, I'm touching on a lot of stuff that opens up a whole nother can of worms, but breatharians that can meditate out in the sun and they don't eat or drink water. Some of these people haven't drank or eat water in 10 years. They meditate for 6 hours out in the sun. And ultimately, when we're eating food or water or anything, we're taking in source energy that's been transmuted through these plants, and we're getting a very washed down energy from it. These breatharians have, through their work in consciousness, have figured out that they can take energy straight from the sun, and they don't have to be confined to a toilet anymore or a supermarket or anything. They just have to be able to get into the sun, and that's what we're moving into. So that's if you had the first question that has already been answered, are we alone in this universe? The answer is no, we're not alone. Second question comes up, who are they? The answer is us in the future. If you think about yourself 1 million, 2 billion, 2 trillion years from now, what would you be doing? You'd be coming back and watching yourself go through this process because you've been able to master the dimensional fields. The next question is, what do they want? We've already answered that question. They're here to help us. They're here to help us go through this because they've already been through it once, and they're coming back to see how we go through it. And, these questions for me were answered and much more. But and all those really opened up were paradigm shifts in my understanding of how everything worked. And the aliens and all that are just one facet of this whole storyline of Source, and that's really all it is. It's this huge story of how Source raises conscious through an infinite amount of experiences that never ends. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's it changes everything, bro. Once you once you have those experiences, and like you're talking about, perfection. I said in one of my songs, I say, perfection is perception. One will become what they perceive. Praying for open heavens, receiving visions of the Elohim.
It's funny. That's how I really felt who you were when I started listening to your songs. I could tell by your different interviews of who you were and whatnot, but when I started listening to your songs, that's when it really come out. I was like, okay, me and this guy have to sit down and have a conversation.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's easier to articulate in the music versus I can expound on the podcast, and I do, but as far as having time to articulate and think about it and take you on a journey through those experiences is definitely through the music and stuff. Yeah,
and I apologize to the audience. I know I've opened up a multiple can of worms through this conversation that I hope will be, that they're just go find their own. That's the whole idea. They can find their own and empower. Self-empowerment is my message. Like these things that I'm able to see and do and whatnot, and astral travel and all these different things. We're all capable of doing this, and this is my message. Like I want. It's not to sit here and tell you and talk about all these things I can do. My goal is for you to hear it and be able to see I'm just a normal person that's I've been through war, and that was a big thing for me, seeing the duality of, okay, why does the universe pick me to do this work when I did all this stuff in Iraq? And it was struggles that I'd set up for myself to make myself stronger, to see that the same energy that I used in Iraq to, work for the government as a hitman, basically, for over 2 years, that same energy could be turned around 180 degrees. The duality, one of the ultimate duality lessons I've been through in my walk was now, okay, the universe is set up that I'm supposed to be this person delivering this prophetic message or whatever you want to call it, and it's just that was a big brain buster for me to go through. But everything is always duality, and this is what we're going to go through. But we're done with the duality. We don't have to live the duality lesson anymore. It's only our choice from here on out. So Ram Dass said it best. They said the guru doesn't go to source and stay in source. The guru goes to source and takes half a step out, and that's where he stays the rest of his existence. And that's where I'm at, brother. That's like not speaking from thinking I'm anything special, but that's where I speak from. I speak with one leg in and one leg out.
I mean, I think that's the true definition of a shaman, one who's able to kind of go back and forth in between the realms and move stuff around and bring stuff out, manifestation, peace, love, tranquility through those states of enlightenment, through the spirit realm, what are you doing when you go into those realms? You're communing with the God of that realm, which is, the one God you talk about, Let me ask you this. So as far as like leading ceremony, because you lead a lot of these ceremonies, or do you help or participate? So you lead?
Sure.
Okay, so as far as like the legal status, and you mentioned Soul Quest in Orlando, right? They've got a legal religious exemption and things like that, which a lot of churches can get when it comes to dealing with plant medicine. That I have a friend, Chris Rushing, here in Alabama, has it's called Aquila Nueva Church of Inner Light here in Alabama, where he has a religious exemption through the Native American tribes to be able to minister plant journeys and things like that. As far as you, with like a legal exemption, how does that work legally to be able to use some of these Schedule I, plant medicines and things like that here in the U.S.? How does that work for you?
Well, ultimately, there's only two organizations in the world that's outside South America that are allowed to operate in the United States. That's the Santo Daime Church and the UDV. All the other churches are basically running on a situation that the federal government's in against ayahuasca. So to explain it a little better, they're all quasi-legal in a way, because what happened is the Santo Daime Church and the UDV, they're two separate organizations, large global ayahuasca churches. They were seizures by the federal government back years ago. That they seized ayahuasca when it was coming through over the border or whatever. But so Santo Daime Church took them to court, and over a few years, they actually won their case against the federal government. They argued that this was their sacrament for their church. So they had to, the forming an actual church and the legality behind it is very important part of it. So Santo Daime won. UDV, same thing happened. It may have not been a shipment or whatever, but it was about the sacrament ayahuasca. They took them to court, they won. The legal precedence is if they take another church to court and they end up beating the federal government, then they have to change the laws. So basically what's happening right now, the federal government said, look, they're actually helping people, and we don't really want to change the laws right now. And we know if we take another church to court, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to win, because the public is getting behind these indigenous ways. So that's really what pretty much everybody's operating under at this point. Myself, I operate under a different set of laws. I operate under the Creator's Law and Source Law, and I feel I'm protected under that. And it supersedes the manifestation or any laws that are in the manifestation. I am part of the Native American Church, so I do travel with a card. I'm not a medicine carrier, so I don't have a DEA exemption, but I'm also an ordained minister. So there's certain things that you can do that, if I were to get caught traveling with medicine or something like that, I would have some type of argument that I am serving this as a sacrament and not. But we're forming our organization, me and my wife's organization that we started, Sacred Journeys Within, only a few months old, but we're working on starting to get that a nonprofit, and so we can start going down the legality issue. But right now, I can't wait on a piece of paper to tell me that I can help someone that may only have a day left of before suicide takes their life, you know, and that's what I'm working under Creator's Law right now.
Okay. I want to ask you, do you have any experience with Amanita muscaria?
No, I have not. That actually grows. I'm from Crestone, Colorado. I'm in Florida right at the moment, but from Crestone, Colorado, and that actually grows up in the mountains where we're at. But I've never had any experience with it. Worked with a lot of different psilocybin. My wife works, has took courses, and she counsels people on proper microdosing and she's an LPN nurse, so she's has a background in the medical field, so she's really good with that. But yeah, we work with pretty much any medicine that can help anyone, but I've never had experience with the Amanita, and I've never had experience with Bufu, the Bufu various. I've never I have experienced the NA05 DMT with Yopo, but yeah, never did the Amanita muscaria.
What about the Cambo? I see that's on your website.
Yeah, the combo, we've been working with that a lot actually here in Florida, and that's why we're still actually here in Florida. We were already planned to leave before this point, but got a strong calling for that. That works on the immune system. It works on clearing out the liver and the bottom three chakras a lot. It works on all the chakras really, but it works particularly very well on the bottom three chakras and all the organs that operate off those chakras. So a lot of stuff we hold on to from past relationship or traumas, it really helps with that. The combo is also, it's from a frog from the Amazon. The Bufo various is from a toad, but this is from a frog in the Amazon, the Sapo frog. And yeah, we use a secretion from that frog, and it gets placed on reduce small little burns, a couple little dots on the skin. It's applied through, and then we take out the first couple of layers, the first 2 or 3 layers of skin, 5 layers of skin, and very small superficial wounds, but the medicine's applied there, and it's a purgative. It makes your blood rush through a lot quicker through your veins. Makes you sweat, cry, vomit, shake, use the bathroom, or sometimes all in between. But ultimately, what it's doing is cleansing you on a physical and a vibrational, spiritual level. So a lot of people can find relief from anxiety or depression, addictions. It works very well with. Yeah, it's that was definitely part of one of my, after I started working with ayahuasca, combo come within the first couple of weeks, and started working with that and got the calling to work with that really, really soon after that. So we've been working with that for pretty much since the beginning of all this with the combo, and developing a really close relationship with now, and doing a lot of good work, especially here in Florida. We're down here in Fort Myers, Florida at the moment right now, and we've been doing ceremonies in Bonita Springs. So if anyone's listening and around this area, we're going to be holding ceremony this weekend for the last time. So
that's awesome. What about your all-night prayer circle? What is that experience like?
That would be with ayahuasca. Yeah, so we'll be doing a ceremony with that. And we actually moved up the date, so that actually will be this coming weekend. So we have another medicine man coming in from Puerto Rico, so he's gonna. There's a lot of ceremonies going on this weekend. It seems it's very needed, and how it's all manifesting that the ceremonies are happening with this intensity is. We're light workers, and we're shooting our light arrows at this darkness that's trying to take us over. So that's the way we see what's going on right now. Yeah, so that'd be with ayahuasca. Anyone that's interested, they can contact us through our website. There's medical forms for them to fill out, release forms. There's a brief medical history. We really focus on safety a lot, and the screenings will be done by my wife, and she's an experienced nurse, so over 10 years, 12, 13 years now as an LPN. So, and she's moved that into holistic care with me, helping with ceremonies and setting behind the altar, and also doing her own ceremonies as well. So with
good stuff,
water
man.
blessings and that.
Talk a little bit about what people call like a bad trip. Is there such a thing as a bad trip? I don't think there's such a thing as like in the end that it was bad, because you learn from everything, especially if you learn from it. It wasn't bad, but can some of those feelings be scary or uncomfortable, looking at childhood wounds and trauma and ascension and all of that kind of stuff that's holding you back? Can it be overwhelming? Have you ever dealt with anybody who kind of went in and it was really scary for them or anything like that?
Most of the time, because ultimately what we're doing, we're clearing out traumas and these negative vibrations that's happened through our lifetime, or other dimensional spaces that are attached to us in this lifetime. So when we start going in and going into those, ultimately it's kind of a manifestation of yourself. It's a manifestation of your own mind and darkness that's going on. And however you need to get through that it'll be manifested in that darkness, or a demon, or what some would call a bad trip. But when someone says they had a bad trip or a bad experience with ayahuasca, or very hard to go through, that tells me that they're probably have a pretty big mission coming out, because the timeline right now for the ascension is right. We're right here at we're about to do it. So all these people that need to take care of things, they're gonna have stuff coming up a lot quicker and a lot more intensity than what they normally would have over the years of normal healing. Right now, it's all hands on deck. So so the universe, the spirits are trying to clear out this energy as quickly as possible, and that may come up as a very horrifying thing. So you can get through it. So it's kind of like pulling a tooth, pull a tooth and the pain's over, and it may hurt really bad for that moment, but you don't want to sit there and wiggle that tooth for an hour or 2 hours. And that's what's going on right now. They need the lesson to be learned as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. We got to go through, these times of uncomfort and things like that. And even when, like I said, what we're going through right now seems, uncomfortable, or it's to I think it's for the greater good. You know what I'm saying? We go through birth pangs and growing pains as well, and definitely when you're doing the inner work, that's the one thing that I've noticed that, and you've been talking about the whole time, that psychedelics are going to make you deal with, which is the inner work, the stuff that you've been suppressing. And because it's, you think you're suppressing it, you're not suppressing it. It comes out. It comes out through relationships. It comes out through your work ethic. It comes out through your motives. Your gossip habits. All of these character flaws and defects that you have. It's all of this traumatic stuff that you've been suppressing. It's coming out. You think you're doing a good job at hiding it, but it comes through. It rises to the top, man. You got to deal with it. A little leaveneth the whole lump, and it comes out. You think you're doing good, but it shows, man. We think we're hiding it, but we can't hold it in. It just keeps coming out. So that's the thing about it, man. Just doing the inner work. And there's a lot of people, this stuff's becoming popular now. It's worldwide, and people are looking at it as an option. I don't think because they want to get high. I don't think because they want to go on a trip. It's because they want healing, man. They're crying out for healing,
I've experienced both sides of that. I've experienced people that have come to the ceremony for the wrong reason, and I've experienced most everybody, almost 97% of all people. They come to ceremony because they've been called to, and they're called to for a healing and for themselves. It's when you come to the ceremony, you're basically standing up for the one part of creation that most people overlook is themselves. They're showing up for themselves. That's 97% of the people that I've seen. I have seen a few people that's come to medicine like, I just want to have an experience. I want to see what it's like, and the medicine won't work for them. I've seen people do 2 or 3 ceremonies, and they sit in a circle of 20, 30 people, and all these people have an amazing visual experiences and just groundbreaking experiences with spirit and the ayahuasca spirit and all these different spirits that comes with these altars and whatnot. And comes around to one person that said he wanted to just come he just wanted to see it. Like he just wanted to, he's been doing psychedelics his whole life and he's never done ayahuasca. So he wanted to add that to the list. Well, ayahuasca, like, you're not ready for it because your mind, this is a safer medicine. Like, and it's, for me, like, it saved my life. So I would not be here if it wasn't for this medicine. If it wasn't for these spirits in these ways, I would not be here. So for me, I dedicate, I'm in it to win it, and that's ultimately people that when you come to this medicine, maybe if you're not in it in your mind when you go to it, you will be if you go to it for the right reasons.
Yeah. I always say, like, especially if we do any type of spiritual retreat or we're going to use anything like that, like, I don't try to, like, convince anyone. I put it out there because I trust that it's already working on you. Like, it's already calling you. So the moment that I say, hey, we have a retreat, we're doing this, I don't have to try to sell it to you. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. If you want to come, we got a spot open. This is how much it costs, whatever. Because I really feel like, for me and for so many other people, like, it's already calling to them through listening to a podcast or something. It's something that, like, I don't want to convince anybody to do it. I don't want to tell anybody to do it. Like, if it calls you, you have to do it. That was my experience, right?
Yeah, for sure. And a real quick shout out in the May we'll be up in New Hampshire. There's a church up there that's booked us up there. And there, I think they got still some open spots up there for that ceremony. There'll be links on our website or whatnot. But tell me about don't you hold a silent retreat? Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, we've been doing. I did the first one in January. We're actually working with Amanita muscaria. So we did that for the first one. My first experience with it. And so we did the first one in January, and it was an amazing experience. More about the camaraderie, man, of just like-minded people meeting together and going out into nature and kind of doing life that way. The Amanita was just kind of like extra. Like, we did breath work, with chanting, all the cool stuff. We burning sage, grounding, all that kind of stuff. Sharing stories at the fire, just opening up, because you find out that, like, just like this podcast, like, there's a lot of people don't have someone they can talk to about this, so they find the podcasts and they listen to this stuff we have a community, an online community of people all over the world. But when you finally come together in person, it just amplifies so much more. Whether we're doing a retreat or something like that, or we have just some kind of get together. We've had a couple of different get togethers where I've opened up my home and a bunch of the community shows up over here, or we do a conference or something, and people just kind of coming from all over to link up, and it's special. But what we've been doing I did was the one in January, and then we just the Outpouring was just crazy. Like, the demand, people were just like, within 24 hours, I sold 7 seats, and that's all we had open. And people were emailing me off the chain like, hey, you got any more open slots? I was like, oh, no. It's like, I may need to do this quarterly, just everybody. So let me go ahead and book the next one. And if you guys want to come near, go ahead and buy tickets. So that's what we're doing. We got an April retreat coming up. And it's not 10 or more people, so we should be good. So, I mean, that one's almost all the way booked as well. I think we have like 3 beds left maybe out of 8. And so, but yeah, man, it's been real powerful, and it's about the camaraderie and stuff as well. The Amanita is different, man. I definitely recommend it if you haven't worked with it yet. It's very different though. It's not psilocybin at all. It's its own thing. It's a totally different experience, but it's a beautiful spirit to connect with, and we connected with it and we had a great time. So.
Yeah, I've been definitely interested in it for a while. It just it never crossed my path, and kind of how I am right now. My plate's really full, and I'm integrating what I've saw on the other side into my manifestation now. So that's really what I've been working on. And but definitely I do want to, just for my own personal sake, I just want to try and put on a list maybe one time. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's something that you can do on your own, for sure. Yeah, definitely do the research on it and order you some online. I mean, if you can't, I mean, you can order it. It's legal, so that's the cool thing about it. By getting it, you know, it's legal in the U.S.
Yeah.
So,
you're in Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to stop by and see you on our way out. I don't know.
That's what's up. Yeah, man, we'll make it happen. Well, go ahead and give your website, man, one time so that people can check out your work and if they want to get involved with anything that you're doing.
Yeah, so it's Sacred Journeys Within, and Journeys is spelled with IES within.com. You can check out our Facebook page, Sacred Journeys Within, as well. It's not the YS because that was already taken, so it's spelled a weird way. So Sacred Journeys Within. Are you going to have links below for?
Yeah. We'll put some links in the
description. Sacred Journeys Within. You can contact us through Sacred Journeys Within at gmail.com, and my personal Facebook page, just simply Drew Banky, DREWBANKUY. Check me out at Facebook. Reach out. And if you got any questions, anything, let us know. And, me and my wife cover a whole gamut of things. Like we work with energy, straight energy, and plant medicine. So we're just here to help ultimately. And we don't do this to get rich or anything like that. We're just trying to get everyone else through this shift. So appreciate you, Derek, so much. TruthSeekah, and thank you for having me on the podcast and the support and everything. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
For sure, man. Yeah, thanks for connecting with me, brother, and you be blessed, bro.
All right, you too, brother.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Drew Banky, ladies and gentlemen. SacredJourneysWithin.com. Man, yeah, enjoyed it. Good stuff. Chris Garner has posted the link in chat for those of you who are in chat if you want to check out his website. Thank you, Christy Johnson, for the donation as well. You're awesome. She says, "I won't let fear take hold of me." Nope. Yeah, we're in. It's different, man. It's switching up the normalcy of what we're used to right now. But man, look at it like you got a paid vacation. I think I see him online here now that Trump's live, and they're talking about paying people for time missed. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you take advantage of this. A lot of people complain that they don't have time to do stuff, to create whatever it is, but you got time now. You got time, so make sure you take advantage of this time. And create something, bring something beautiful that's going to help people, talk about something other than crazy conspiracy theories and what's going to happen and what's going on, man. All that kind of stuff, man. Just do something that's going to bless somebody, that's going to help somebody and pull them out of their rut, man. Because people, people are going through stuff, man. People are dealing with all types of stuff. And then times of uncertainty and just weird stuff going on, you can get caught up really quick. So make sure you're staying in the word, man. Make sure you're opening up them scriptures, getting in, that you're going in and communing with your creator who knows what's going on. Trust me. It's not, he doesn't know what's happening. You can commune with your creator on a one-on-one basis. And that's kind of what while we had this conversation, there's different, ways to commune with the Father and kind of transcend the ego and some of the, things that hold you back. There's things that are holding you down from ascending to the higher levels of consciousness. And ascending is just walking in a higher level of vibration. You ascend to these higher levels. And there's things and there's deeds and there's things that you entertain and stuff that you manifest at each level. If you're walking at a lower level, you're going to manifest fear, doubt, insecurity, trouble, grief, hardships. You're going to, but when you're walking in higher levels of ascension, which is walking in the spirit, as the Bible calls it. You're maintaining your peace. You have long suffering. You're helping people. You desire the best. There's other fruits and things that you're going to be producing as you're walking in the spirit. So make sure you're not walking in the flesh, man, and entertaining these endless fables is what the Bible. I read that in Timothy as well. I'm telling you, man, this is the scriptures is alive and sharper than any two-edged sword, and it can help you if you'll turn to it, because it's the word of God. You know what I'm saying? So where was the scripture at I read today? I didn't mark it down, but been in Timothy. And okay, it says, but let's see, 1 Timothy 4. It says, nourished up in the words of faith and of good doctrine, whereunto thou hast attained, but refuse profane and old wives' fables. Let me look this up, because this says different things in different versions that are good. There's some different translations, I think, that are used there. Here's one here. So 1 Timothy 4:7, this is in the ESV. It says, have nothing to do with irrelevant, silly myths. Rather train yourself for godliness. Come on now. And if I'm reading the chat here, Chris Garner says, it's not a grand false flag. Heed wide counsel. For sure. Heed wise counsel. And the wise counsel is to do what? Have nothing to do with irrelevant, silly myths. Rather train yourself in godliness. Another scripture I shared from Isaiah, I'm going to read it right quick too, dealing with crazy conspiracy theories. See, we combative against the mind. The mind is sacred, man. The imagination is powerful. It's beautiful. Don't let anything pull you outside of the truth of who you are, who God says you are, you maintaining your peace. We're going to go through the storm. You're going to go through it. It's just part of it. But you can have a perfect peace while you're walking through it. Though people are panicking on the right, people are panicking on the left, you can maintain your peace through this whole thing. A peace that surpasses all understanding, that any man searches where it comes from, how to get to it, they have no idea. It surpasses their understanding. It comes directly from relationship with the Father through Christ. A peace that surpasses all understanding. That's your inheritance as children of God. Isaiah 8:12. Do not call conspiracy all that this people call conspiracy, and do not fear what they fear, nor be in dread. Come on, is that not relevant for today? Literally, do not call conspiracy. On Facebook, I don't even want to be on Facebook. It's nothing but conspiracies. Trump's overthrowing the government, man. Or they're getting government, they're getting the pedophiles out. I mean, there's just so many crazy conspiracy theories, and it makes the word of God be even more relevant. 1 Timothy 4:7, have nothing to do with irrelevant, silly myths. These are silly myths, man. Train yourself up in godliness. Those two things right there, you'll be straight. Search out what it means to train yourself up in godliness. Let's go to a different version, because I know that there's some different translations that say some pretty cool stuff. I can find some here. Let me just, I like Bible Hub. It really has them all out in front of you. So let me try to find that one. Bible Hub. Reject. Here's one that says, another version says godless myths and old wives' tales. Stay away from them. Let me see if there's a conspiracy. No, the word conspiracy. Oop, I know you heard that. Yeah, but have nothing to do with pointless and silly myths. I mean, this is repeated over and over throughout the scripture, you know, because there's never going to be an end to them. Once you got it figured out and this is what's happening, there'll be a new piece of information that just rocks your world and sends you down another rabbit hole. And there's no peace there. Go where the peace is. Go where the presence is. Protect your mind. I mean, spiritual warfare is the battle for your mind. That's this whole spiritual warfare is fear not, for I am with you. You know, in situations like these, it really proves what we believe. because it's tested. You have all the faith in the world, but unless your faith be tested, it doesn't mean anything. But under pressure is when it comes out. The anointing, what you believe, you get to put it to work. Come on now. People looking for answers, man, and you're freaking out like the pagans. You're freaking out like the conspiracy theorists. No, you got a peace that surpasses all understanding. It's transferable. It's contagious. You can share it. You can tap into it through everything we've been talking about, through the breath, through communion with the Father, through reading the scriptures. And I urge you, Timothy, you ain't even got to go deep. Just get your daily bread for this day. Give us this day our daily bread. What is it, Lord? What do I need for today? And as you're reading the scriptures, even if it's just a little portion, I haven't been doing no deep out there studies lately, but it's just been the small things, which are deep studies. The simplicities are deep, because you can just keep holding a magnifying glass up to them. Bing, bing. Go deeper and deeper and deeper on these little truths, or what seems nonchalant, or it's not deep for everyone, so they want something that nobody has, right? It's just reiterating the beauty of the simplicity of it. The beauty of the simplicity of refusing profane old wives' tales or pointless, silly myths. Rather, train yourself in godliness. I've heard it all, and I know you guys have too, as far as it coming down to what's going on right now and to be scared. It don't matter. Like, God's got you. God got you. Don't let fear get you. Let God get you. Walk in love, walk in peace. You know, the scripture says, blessed are the peacemakers. Be a peacemaker, man. Where there is no peace, you show up. Bing, changes the atmosphere. Changes the scenery. Peace is there because you're there. Come on now. Prove what you really believe in times like these. It's fun. Again, use it as a paid vacation, because you're going to get paid for it. Don't freak out about money. You're getting paid for it. They're going to reimburse you. They're going to make sure everything's taken care of. That's the way God got you. Whatever the enemy meant for your harm, God's going to in turn use it for your good. You got a paid vacation out of this. When the world was in panic, you chilling. You listening to godly edification. You building, you're working on your master plan. You're working on your come up. You're funding your dream. You're building it. Everybody else is freaking panicking, just all over the place. Come on now, hold your peace in Jesus' name. That's your inheritance as sons and daughters of God, to walk in faith. Whatsoever is not of faith is sin. If you're not walking in faith, you're living in sin, because the scripture says whatsoever is not of faith is sin. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. We are people of faith, man. We have a hope that is unseen, but it's there. Because it really is seen, because it's seen through the manifestations of the sons and daughters of God, because it's walking. It's tangible. It's the proof. You can see it because it's seen in us and through us. That's the mystery of the gospel, which is Christ in us, is the hope of glory. We got a hope. We have a peace. It's real. Look, guys, with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the support. Make sure you join us on Thursday night, School of the Mystics. Bunch of cool stuff coming to the table. I know, again, we had a great time this last Thursday. You know, we had somebody really cool hang out with us. And I tell you what, I say really cool. That brother's anointed. Brian Headwatch, man. Like, it's an honor to call him a brother. It's an honor to call him a friend. And just listening to him teach and share where he's at, man. It was just such a beautiful experience. So shout out to everybody who joined and hung out with us. It was really good. And yeah, either way, make sure you hang out with us Thursday night, School of the Mystics. Need anything, hit me up. Our Discord link is in the description. You can get in touch with me via Discord or my email, one-on-one sessions, all that cool stuff. Website is down right now. I just had to check it out and see if it's up. They said there was like malware on it or something like that. It's kind of crazy. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of it to get my website fixed. But hit me up. Look in the description. Again, all the links are there. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Love you guys. We'll do it again very soon. Peace.
Your will is so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. Your thoughts so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/ TruthSeekah.